Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. I am so happy to be talking to you today about something that comes up a lot in my work, where people have learned certain kind of pop psychology slogans and formulas to follow that are supposed to help, that are supposed to be sort of perfectly wrapping things up in a bow. And what is really interesting about these is that they come from a lot of different sources. There are a lot of religious organizations that provide these slogans. There are 12-step, there are a lot of new age kinds of groups, large group awareness trainings that come from a lot of places. People will come to me and say some of these phrases are really helpful, like one day at a time. And if you've been in some of these groups, hearing these might actually make you feel either relaxed if they've been helpful to you, or make you actually have your nerves stand on end because you're so tired of hearing them. So I apologize if that is the physiological impact this is having on you, but there's a reason that I'm saying these. So what I find is that a lot of times people will say, I know the other person was trying to be helpful, but it felt hollow. It felt like they weren't really connecting with me. I have this vision that people sometimes, when they walk into these large group awareness trainings, when they go into 12-step, and even though I know 12-step can be very helpful for some people, and I know there are other models that are sometimes equally, if not more helpful for others who don't like that kind of structure of the 12-step, they kind of come into this space that I envision as someone just running through a pharmacy that has a whole section of greeting cards and get well cards and encouragement cards. And they just grab a bunch off the shelf and just throw them at you. Here, I hope that this makes you feel better. And it is like handing someone that poster that a lot of us have seen of the cat hanging on to a rope and it says, "Hang in there, baby." I thought it was cute when I was little, and now I'm thinking, why doesn't anyone get the cat down? But I also think that there is something really interesting about how much we want to help. And we like being able to have a formula that we can offer someone. We like being able to have it for ourselves, too. What happens, though, is that when people follow these kinds of pop psychology phrases, it gives the giver, the speaker, the sense that they're offering wisdom, that they're not needing actually to step into the raw discomfort and the raw content of another person's reality. Like saying progress, not perfection, or energy flows where attention goes. It feels helpful, but it doesn't require the speaker to sit with the awkward silence, the grief, the kind of jagged edges of someone else's pain. So, in other words, these phrases allow the speaker to stay in the role of helper while protecting themselves from emotional contagion, the risk of actually feeling the depth of another person's suffering. We know from doing therapy that sometimes what someone needs is not to be given a phrase, not to be given a slogan, but just to have someone sit with them in the quiet of that grief or in that moment where they're really needing encouragement, and to just look at them and say, I'm here. I'm here anytime you want to talk, and I'm happy to share my strength with you in any way that I can. There is also this idea that a lot of people, they'll say a whole group of people were offering me all these wonderful ideas and phrases, but it felt detached. So there is actually a difference between detached help and connected help. So detached help sounds polished and it comes quickly. It feels good to deliver, but often lands flat because it bypasses empathy. It isn't empathy. It bypasses empathy. The speaker relies on kind of a prepackaged truth, and it spares them from the vulnerability of saying, I actually don't know what to say, but I'm here with you, which is sometimes the most authentic way of showing up for a person. I don't really know the best words to use, and maybe there aren't, and maybe your pain or your discomfort, your challenge is yours, but I'm here. Connected help, though, feels different because it requires something of the speaker, of the participant in that scene. It requires presence and discomfort and a willingness to be impacted by the other person's emotions, and also a willingness to acknowledge in yourself that you might not know how to help right in that moment. And that's okay if you haven't been through it. And even if you have been through the same thing, everyone's experience is different. So it might sound less smooth, like that sounds unbearable. I can't imagine how hard that is for you. But it resonates more because it's authentic. Formulas shortcut. They simulate care, but without the risk of true emotional connection. Why is this so appealing, though, for so many people? Why do they love having these phrases? And again, sometimes they are helpful. Sometimes they're tried and true. And if it works for the people in your life and they say, oh, please say that again, then say that again. But if you're finding that you're jumping into them because it gives you emotional ease, because it gives you cognitive ease, then it's not fair to do to another person who is really needing more from you. Human brains are wired for cognitive ease. It's easier to process something that we perceive is true, but it might not be true for that other person. So slogans and mantras and formulas are short and they're rhythmic, easy to remember. That's why they get remembered. And they're repetitive, also makes it easier to remember. And this taps into what we call the fluency heuristic, where what's easy to remember feels right. It feels correct. But just because you've heard it many times or you've said it many times doesn't make it any more correct, doesn't make it any more true, and doesn't make it any more kind of connected to the situation, to the person who you're talking to. So the one day at a time, or forgiveness minus resentment equals peace, those kinds of formulas, they stick because they're simple, they're patterned, they're repeatable. Think about political slogans. Think about anytime you've seen an advertisement and you know the slogan, or you can sing the theme song. These are things that our brain attaches to, these kinds of patterns. And it's the same principle behind a lot of proverbs. When words are easily recalled, they bypass critical thinking and become what we call felt truths. So it feels so good to the speaker to be able to share something that they think is going to be helpful, something that's going to sustain another person or empower them. They get to feel useful, they get to feel insightful, they get to even feel wise. They get to feel like they are necessary in someone else's healing or in that moment. And it is, though, going to feel empty because, again, it's bypassing the kind of heavy labor of empathy. So they may not consciously realize they're avoiding pain, but the script functions as an emotional shield. And there's a performative comfort and a performative element to this. So delivering a well-known phrase, it reassures both parties that something has been said that can reduce tension in the moment. But is it effective? Read your audience. See if it makes them kind of look down and look away, like they don't really feel they're being talked to. They don't really feel like they're being held. They don't really feel like you're connecting. They might feel also like you are trying to give them the illusion of help. People who really are in pain can sometimes tell when someone cares and someone doesn't. They'll be looking for that feeling, the kind of primal feeling of someone really being there for them. The speaker, though, feels valuable, might even have a facial expression that seems to be disconnected. They might smile because they're so happy they have something to say that feels right, and while the other person is crying. And so when a listener hears something familiar, they might really enjoy it if they're part of the same organization where you say these phrases and then you say it to them in these moments. They might really like it, but it also still means that their pain has been sidestepped. And it might not sink in the moment that it's been sidestepped, but it might happen later on, where people sometimes in whole organizations, surrounded by lots of people all saying these things to them, might come to me in my office here and say, I feel so alone. And this is the reason. So it is hard to be with people who are having a hard time. But just know that they don't want to have you, again, pick up greeting cards and throw the contents at them. They want you to give them that impression that you're going to put your arm around them, whether it is verbally, emotionally, or physically, and let them know they're not alone in the world. And that means joining, that means feeling, that means being fully present. I know it's not easy, but it has not only short-term gain, but long-term gain. And that's what you want with people who matter to you. You want to know that you've helped them in the moment, but also for tomorrow. Take good care.